Good evening, everybody. Today, MBA Academy with the collaboration of the Tamil Nadu Senior Advocates Forum, we got a lecture series in which topic today is artificial intelligence, introduction, impact, and some legal issues by none else than Srinath Sridevan, Senior Advocate. Artificial intelligence refers to the computer system capable of performing complex tasks that historically only a human could do, such as reasoning, making decisions, or solving problems. Artificial intelligence is the science of making machine that can think like humans. It can do things that are considered smart. Artificial intelligence technology can process large amounts of data in ways unlike humans. The goal for artificial intelligence to be able to do things such as recognize patterns, making decisions, and judge like humans. This is the small introduction which I can do courtesy Google. And today the speaker is Srinath Sridevan. Normally we'll have two things. One is natural intelligence, and another is artificial intelligence. Today, natural intelligence is going to speak about artificial intelligence. With this small introduction, I'll pass on the mic to the speaker.
Kind words, President. Opportunity. I've had the opportunity to work on by the IIT. Have members from the center. Suggest changes, guidelines. Then I was asked the topic. Find interesting. I'll try to make it. A lot of slides. I'll run through it quickly. So, first thing, exactly where taking us. Now, normally, something called water cycle. Water cycle is rain falls, goes into the ground, to lakes, evaporates, goes back into the clouds. This is called a cycle. So there's a software, there's an AI software called Sora, and you can type words into it, and it will try to imagine itself what you're trying to say. So if you type water cycle nature, you get this movie. This is what it thinks water cycle means. Just so it thinks it thought about dolphin going on a cycle, turtle doing cycle, and so this really is a different way of thinking. The topics I'll be covering are introduction and key concepts. So everyone can. So I'm not using any words which nobody knows. Then regulation, and this is very big. All the young lawyers find a lot of work in regulation and regulatory practice in AI. So that's a very exciting field for everyone. Also going to talk about the impact of AI on legal practice, because that's something which I keep getting asked in a lot of functions. And then, of course, emerging issues, which is, I think, the most exciting aspect of this talk. So, what is AI? Normally, when you have a machine, you put the switch on and the fan spins. It spins because of electromagnetic currents and so on and so forth. A computer, you can ask it what is 1 plus 1, it's going to say 2. But an artificial intelligence algorithm or AI algorithm is slightly different. It can understand what we are asking from our imperfect question. So, for example, um, if you're looking for what is that case which I argued before Justice so and so that day in that court hall, you can never find it by going into any of the online resources. But you can ask an AI algorithm, are there any judgments on the point involving a greedy landlord by a judge who sat in Madras High Court in the 1990s, uh, which used the following phrase? And AI will be able to understand it and give a very meaningful response. Now, how it works, talk about it later, but important to understand very large volumes of data. So, for example, imagine this entire bookshelf knowledge. The AI has access to that. So it knows every SEC from back to front. Now, if you ask a question, it will access the words in each of these volumes, try to figure out what is most closely approximate to your question, and it will generate an answer from that. So, one of the major issues which we have seen coming up across the world is AI requires tremendous computing power. So, I've shown you one shelf. AI is like 10,000 libraries of information, which is processed constantly. And therefore, one of the big issues which we are going to find is access to bandwidth, access to information is what is going to be the next big differentiator between classes of people. Okay, so the first concept is what is AI? As President rightly said, I've also picked it up from Google only. So we are both saying the same thing. This is always right. So for you don't need to state a problem as what is 1 plus 1. You can ask it far more complex questions and it will predict based upon the nature of the question as to what all are the various likely answers and choose the most likely answer. Now, there are two concepts you need to keep in mind: machine learning and deep learning, which I'll come to next. Next slide. That's it. Sorry. So machine learning is the ability to predict based on data. Now, this is something which we take for granted as human beings. For example, there are certain courts where all of us will know that honor dismissal now. So that's predictive learning. We know by practice that nothing is going to work there, we are only going to lose. But a calculator, how many ever times you type 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, it won't predict that next time you're going to ask it the same question. Machine learning is the system by which the machine learns from your past practices as to what it is that you ask and how you ask, and is able to generate um, a chain from your past, based on a prediction of your past actions. So if any of you have done a Google search, you can start typing out best judge in, and it'll start giving suggestions for what is the next, or best advocate in, it will start suggesting. Now, that is predictive learning or machine learning. Now, just go back, sorry. Where it's used is facial recognition, voice recognition, fraud detection, diagnostics. What is diagnostics? Diagnostics is if, if you type in your symptoms, it will, so let's say I am feeling feverish, I have a slight cold, and my ear is paining. You can type it and it will predict based on past data as to what all could be the possible problems with me and how to treat it. So that's facial recognition, voice recognition, fraud detection, diagnostics. Next. Then we come to deep learning. Deep learning is the way by which you have now it's, so let's take, for example, SEC. It's a good example. Now, if you show a deep learning algorithm, how a particular judge has been dealing with a particular class of cases time after time after time. Deep learning will enable it to tell you what are the usual biases that that judge has and how they are likely to decide in future, because it analyzes not just individual data but classes of data by assembling them to it tries to find patterns in data. So for example, when you speak um, voice recognition or facial recognition, we have a machine out there in our MBA where you can show your face and it will see who you are and uh, let you in. Now, that is facial recognition. And this is the kind of thing which also permits what is called as autonomous driving, which is driverless cars, which is coming also. Next, please. Then we come to LLM. So, large language models. So, remember, I gave you the example of how AI will use this full shelf of books. A large language model is the entire body of data from which the AI system picks up all its knowledge and its patterns and predicts and makes predictions based on the questions that you ask it. Thanks. Okay. So I've got the basic concepts over, all the fundas are finished. Now let's move slightly to the next step. Now, we now come to regulation of AI. Now, a lot of people think, what all can AI do? Is there any danger to me? And we've all seen that people are starting to get scared. You know, can AI mimic my voice? And can a kidnapper use AI to make a call to someone and claim a ransom as though it's me speaking? All these frauds. How do you regulate AI? So there are two approaches. One is the horizontal approach, where you have a single set of regulations for the entire field of AI, or you can have different types of AIs regulated by different laws. The different types of AI I'll talk about in a minute. Now, in India, what our government is currently planning to do is to have the horizontal approach. They're thinking of something called the Digital India Act, which will regulate every class of AI. Next one. Okay. So what are the different types of AI? There are 3 types of AI. Broadly, I mean, this is my, I'm trying to keep it simple. Recommendation, synthesis, generative. Now, a recommendation algorithm is one which will make recommendations to you. So if you go to Google, all right, sometimes when you're searching, an ad will pop up. You would have been talking to your wife of Yendi holiday Polandi. So an ad for holiday to Thailand will come. Like Triple S would have seen it many times. So that is a recommendation algorithm. It sees that it takes data from the kind of searches you're doing. It would have seen that one day it would have said airfare to Bangkok or something like that. And it knows that you're thinking of some holiday. Therefore, it will make recommendations based upon what all it knows about you. So what is to me scary is the computer knows something about me which I haven't told anyone yet. So when Triple S was planning a vacation to Bangkok, he had not told anyone, but the computer knew and it's sending him ads, best hotel in Bangkok, all these things. Then we come to, I'll take up generative second, sorry, the order, my mistake. Generative algorithms are, generative AI algorithms are where, so I don't know if all of you have seen this thing called Chat GPT. You can tell it, please draft a petition for continuation of delay because I mixed up the papers with other bundles. It will draft something. It will generate based on its own patterns of learning. It can generate text, and that is a generative algorithm. You all can also make movies, you can make voice, you can also do pictures. Synthesis is a combination of recommendation and generative. Therefore, these are the 3 broad types of AI algorithms. And so how you can see the dangers in each. When we come to generative, let's say, I'm again going to take you as the example only. I want a photo of Shanmugam stamping on Constitution. Something like that. Or stamping on a court order because I want to get him caught in a contempt petition. So it will generate. It will generate with his image and it will look quite real. technology has not reached the stage where it is super real yet. It will look quite real. Now, we need to prevent that. People should not be able to use our photos to morph it and make it into something else. That is the need. So you need to regulate all these things to protect people from misuse of AI. Thanks. So um, what most countries are doing is they apply a fourfold test. That is to find out what are the harms which may come, what is the good which comes, how do we balance the two, and with existing legal provisions, how do we knit the two? Let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is the important part. Now, there are two kinds of regulations across the world. One is the Western model, and I'll come to the what is low risk. So, a computer which is predicting that you're going to go to Bangkok, low risk. Really, nothing bad is happening because limited risk is, and you use it for, there your loss of privacy is more important. Or use your passwords for bad activity. Unacceptable is, where it's used for actual crime. So based on these four categories, the EU has given regulations for preventing or, self-regulation like that. Now, can you go to the next slide? In Japan and China, they've done it's have an inbuilt code to ensure compliance with these values. So you have the human centricity, then you have data to handle the kind of stuff that we do. So, for example, Sriram sir was handling a very tough division bench today. AI can't predict how to handle situations like that. It's not possible. So, we have a fundamental understanding of the context. We understand situations, we understand the human beings, we understand not only what is said, but also what is unsaid. And that's not something which AI right now can do. So, in my view, transactional law will be impacted heavily by AI. Litigation, it's going to be AI is going to be a fantastic servant. And let me tell you why. I've met two very exciting young lawyers from Chennai who are doing work in the AI field. One is Hemant, who is the son of none other than our own Justice Bharat Chakravarti. He has got this AI called which where you can actually drag documents and drop it into it, and it will analyze the various issues involved which are arising from those documents and give you. So, for example, if you ask it, how many times did the witness mention the sale deed dated 27/10/1985? Then I'll actually do that. It will tell you. It will also tell you what other sale deeds were referred to. So that's a very exciting software. And then Rohan George, he's not a member of MBA, but he was practicing until recently. He started this company called Consensus, where you can just load the pleadings and it will give you analysis of which all documents are required to prove every stage of the claim. So that's the kind of support which we can get. Litigating lawyers will find that AI is a fantastic tool for us. It will be a great servant, whereas for transactional lawyers, I think it's going to be a cruel master. Thank you. Okay. The impact which I'm already seeing of AI, I'm going to go, there are about 6 topics I've identified. First is in tax assessment. Now, in the Income Tax Act, there is a concept called as faceless assessment, which is that the original thing of where you file a return, assessing officer goes through it and calls you, and there's a proceedings under 143 or 142, all it's gone now. Now, the cases are allotted by a computer based on an algorithm to anonymous officers called as FAO, Faceless Assessment Officer. And these officers will then take up your case. They will ask you queries, which will again go through the system. The AI will then generate what is the issue involved. And you answer it and the assessment closes. Or if you don't answer it, the assessment gets reopened. So, this was analyzed by the Honorable Bombay High Court in a case called Hexaware, where the issue was whether after the faceless assessment scheme has come into vogue, whether you can still have a physical officer doing your assessment. And Telangana, Bombay and Himachal Pradesh have held that the purpose for having an algorithm is to eliminate human biases. And for the computer to allot it based on a neutral, unbiased system and complete anonymity. So these three high courts have held that physical assessments thereafter are invalid and void. Calcutta High Court has held that no harm done if a physical officer does it. I think our High Court is yet to decide on this issue. Then we come to facial recognition technologies, and this is a very exciting thing. I've in fact requested John to answer your questions if you have any about this. Uh, facial recognition technologies. Our government introduced it in 2021. Telangana and UP introduced it slightly before that, where in all public places there will be closed circuit cameras, and there will be a live feed which will constantly be checking the um, uh, if the face of someone who's in a public place matches with someone in the national crime records. And that has been challenged before our High Court by none other than Patsati sir's son Suhrit in a case called Akhilesh Kumar Kandasamy, where he has said that this is a violation of the right of privacy, which is protected in Puttasamy's case. The same challenge has been made in UP High Court and Telangana High Court. No one has decided yet, but the question which everyone is asking is twofold. Is a facial recognition software violating the right of privacy? Second, can a person, without their consent having been obtained, can their face be recorded and stored in a registry somewhere? Although it is for the laudable purpose of preventing crime. So that's being decided by our High Court. Then we had the government issued a notification in 2018, I've given the reference there, where 10 security agencies have been given permission to intercept all our messages. Whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's Telegram, nothing is safe. They can see whatever you have, and they can intercept, monitor, decrypt any information in any computer resource. This was challenged before the Honorable Supreme Court under Article 32, again based on Puttasamy. That's not been decided yet. Then this very interesting case in Madhu Tanwar, where Honorable Punjab High Court has said that hereafter, for bail bonds, we need to have conditions which enable, which prevent the use of AI for impersonation or anything else which will enable people to avoid complying with bail conditions. So the Punjab High Court applied, used AI to have new kinds of conditions in bail bonds. Then we had this case of Anil Kapoor in the Delhi High Court, where this company called Simply Life used his images which are in public domain and made him talk stuff which he never said, as though he's supporting some product, I suppose. I didn't see the ad. And so he went to court saying that, look, you can't use my image. It's a public domain and a computer is generating a fresh image. But the Delhi High Court disagreed. It said that morphing and deepfake of a person's image is a violation of their rights and injuncted it. The one case where AI was used positively is in Sadan Haldar's case, where the Delhi High Court has authorized the Delhi police to use facial recognition technology to identify missing children using the CCTV in the railway stations, and with the missing child's photo, use FRT to try and track them wherever they are. I'm told that it's worked in a couple of cases. Okay, now we come to the emerging issues. Now, take a look at that painting. That painting was created by AI. Now, this gentleman called Thaler tried to copyright this. So he's tried to make some very beautiful forest and there's a train track going through it, and he tried to copyright this. The copyright was refused on the ground that for a work to be copyrightable, there must be a human originator. And they've said that copyright has never stretched so far as to protect works generated by new forms of technology operating absent any guiding human hand. So, as of today, on copyright law, we still require a human being to be involved in the creation of the artwork, and If an AI generates it, there is no copyright. Then in this case, an AI generated a very unique kind of light using this that, that kind of a lighting mechanism. And the person who owned the AI software attempted to apply for a patent. The patent office said, no, we can't grant it. He challenged it. On the challenge, they held that a patent right is a property right. And a property right under uh, any civilized system of law must vest in a person. A property right cannot exist in vacuum. So they've said an AI machine cannot hold property and injuries. There was a Chevrolet which was going on this side, which is a driverless car. It was going in its lane. Chevrolet in the distance saw one person crossing the road. The AI told the Chevrolet, you have to swerve to avoid hitting that fellow. This man was going in his own lane. He was staying at a constant speed. He didn't expect the Chevrolet to suddenly turn, and he sustained injuries. So he sued Chevrolet for having a driverless car which swerved into him and broke his legs. So the court framed three issues. There are three possible persons who are at fault. First, the person who was sitting in the passenger seat while the car is in auto drive mode. He's the person who put the car into auto drive, so he's liable. Or the manufacturer, Chevrolet, General Motors, are they liable because they manufactured the car which caused the accident? Or is it the person who designed the AI software which did not know that it should slow down before changing lanes? Is it they who are liable? Unfortunately, we'll never know what the answer was because General Motors settled the claim and avoided a decision. But the immediate aftermath of Nilsson's cases, Volvo gave a declaration saying that if any of our driverless cars cause an accident anywhere, Volvo will compensate. That is Volvo's declaration. Then I already mentioned this Anil Kapoor case to you earlier. So this Simple Life India used AI to generate his likeness. The Delhi High Court issued injunction. Now, what was the consequence of this? During these last elections, which happened in April and May, the Election Commission asked Sarai, is there any way we can prevent deepfakes in elections? Therefore, we had the opportunity to suggest one small line which could be inserted either in the Model Code of Conduct or in the MeitY advisory to prevent the use of deepfakes for election campaigning. And you'll find that that's actually captured in one of the MeitY advisories. Because I think if you remember, people were using the morphed voices of political leaders to create trouble between communities. People were using uh, fake news, as though something bad has happened in some place to stir up a panic. So all this, the Election Commission was able to immediately stop by issuing the advisory preventing the use of deepfakes for purposes like this. Thanks. Okay, now we come to biases. Now, this is something which the RBI has talked upon even as recently as 2 weeks ago. Now, AI, like I told you earlier, picks up all its knowledge from the database which is called the LLM. Now, if the database from which it picks up all its knowledge itself has inherent biases, then the outputs the AI gives will have biases. And what was observed by the RBI is that when loan applications are granted, certain classes of people have a higher chance of rejection, simply because that is the way the database is till now. And even in the healthcare industry, what they found was very interesting. They found that the database used for the entire healthcare industry to create patterns of human behavior and human physiological needs are all based on the male body. And therefore, it was generating recommendations for even for women based on, for example, the male's sleep needs. So it is biologically known that women need a little bit more sleep than men. But all the AI generated reports are based on the male needs. And so this is one more bias which you'll see. Therefore, what Google did was Google found that if you have an AI which is working on news, it's going to give extreme right wing news or extreme left wing, because it is only right wing and left wing news which are very loud and very commonly found. Centrist news is it's less common. Therefore, AI has introduced algorithms to knock out extreme right wing views, and prevents the AI from ever espousing that kind of view. So that's Google is trying it. Question is how far it's successful. Thanks. Okay, now we come to, this is the most interesting thing, how an AI system works. This is called the Chinese room experiment. Now imagine that you're inside a room and there is a sheet saying that if you get this Chinese character, you must reply with this Chinese character. If you get A, you give B. If you get C, you get D. So then you get, on the first day, you get one Chinese character, you reply the corresponding Chinese character. The next day, you get 3 or 4, you reply with the corresponding 3 or 4. Over time, you get a very expert in what Chinese characters to give in response to a certain Chinese character. Now, if in the process you receive Chinese characters A, B, C, D, E, and you give E, F, G, H correctly, the person who's receiving it reads perfect Chinese. He thinks, wow, this guy inside the room really knows good Chinese. But you have no idea what you're doing. You're simply copying based on what you have been told to replicate for a particular Chinese character. And that is what AI does. What AI does is, let's say you ask it, let's say I ask it a question. Can there be res judicata between two co-defendants? What it will do is, it will first go to its LLM, this full library. It will pick up all the cases involving res judicata and co-defendants. Then it will start out with an answer like, let's say, for example, res judicata. Let's pick up the word res judicata. Then it will go to all those books where the word res judicata is. What is the next word which most commonly comes? It will put that word. What is the next word which most commonly comes? And that way it will build something which looks like beautiful English. And I'm simplifying it a lot, but that's broadly how AI responses are made. It's not like the computer suddenly has grown a brain. It is simply assimilating data and assembling responses based on a very carefully structured process. And that is what is called the Chinese room experiment, where you put in something, you get out something, and the person inside has no idea what they're replying. So the greater the LLM, the more successful the AI. Now, this I mentioned earlier, it's something which we will see in the years to come. Today, there are 4 or 5 major AI companies. They have access to tremendously large LLMs. If you want to start an AI company, you need access to an LLM of that kind of size. Do you have the resources? I don't know. Therefore, India will need to invest time and money in creating an LLM of the kind of size required to compete with a Google. Otherwise, you'll have an AI which is not really effective at all. So this will create what are called as information monopolies. You're going to find in the years to come, the number of players in the space will be few, and we'll just be choosing between A, B, C, and D. And how that plays out, hard to say, but this is something which we should all be worried about. Thank you. Okay. This is one more very famous ethical issue. Now, imagine that you are the person who handles that switch. So that this train is coming full speed from left to right on the track. One man is lying down in track A, 5 people are lying down in track B. Now, you can't stop the train. You can switch the train from track A or track B. Which track will you choose? Okay. So, you choose track A, so you kill one, so one person dies. Now, this is a case where you choose an action which has a definitive result. Now, in the second, now we come to second problem. The second problem, if you do nothing, the train will simply go on its track and whoever dies, dies. If you do something, either five or one may die. What you do? You'll do something or you'll do nothing. Correct. It's human nature to do nothing. That's what people, it is over 90% of people will do nothing because why should, so now, how will an AI take decisions like this? And they actually tested this. So they did a simulation where car is going down a narrow road at a correct speed of 40. Now, there is an elderly lady on the pavement. She is about 80 years old. She's standing on the pavement. Then there is a young lady pushing a pram, recklessly walking and jaywalking on the road. So, what would the car do? Now, if there is no space to apply the brakes and stop the car, they found that although humans would go and try to hit the old lady because you don't want to kill the young child, which is because that's a potential life, the AI will think she is obeying the law, this young lady and the baby are disobeying the law. So, how do you solve these things? And this is a major, I mean, I'm making it very simple, but these are the kind of ethical issues which regulation for AI needs to provide for. Now, there is something called the Asimov's law of robotics, where they'll say that, AI or a robot must never kill a human being and all that. But in the field of AI, if an AI is choosing to make a recommendation to you in a given scenario, what are the norms which govern it? How will it choose whether to do a particular thing or not do a particular thing? These are the kinds of things which regulations need to provide for. Good. Then we come to surveillance. Now, this to me is one of the scariest aspects of AI entering our lives. So, surveillance is done because government wants to prevent crime. So they are watching us in the airport. They are tracking our movements in the railway stations because if bad people are there, there's a way to prevent it. At least that is the theoretical example. But most of us don't realize that this kind of public scrutiny involves a surrender of rights on our part. Therefore, for example, if I was to say that just for your safety, inside your office room, I'll put a small camera to watch what you do. None of us will like it. But that is exactly what is happening in our lives. Now, when we talk about facial recognition technology or we talk about surveillance of our phones, because the government wants to prevent people from, I don't know, piracy or whatever, we think we are safer. But what are we losing in exchange for that feeling of safety which we are getting? There's something called the concept called function creep. When we first started out this having this Aadhaar card, we were told Aadhaar card was for just one or two small things. But you've seen how Aadhaar card has grown, and now it's pretty much the primary ID card for all of us. So similarly, facial recognition will use the data, but once the data is stored, what all is it used for? Can that use be expanded over time? These are things which we need to consider. Now, whenever I have argued against these kinds of searches or should an inspection happen, most courts say you have nothing to hide. What do you have to fear? But that is a fallacy. And for us to allow the government to scrutinize our every sphere of activity on the ground that if you have nothing to fear, by what is there to hide? Doesn't mean I may not want to show simply because that's me. I don't have to have everything open to the government simply because I'm an honest person. And there's a very beautiful saying which I've put there. We're saying arguing that you don't care about the right to privacy because you have nothing to hide is no different than saying that you don't care about free speech because you have nothing to say. And so that really is what it is. We have governments across the world. I'm not no particular government. All governments want to expand their powers at our expense. And AI will be a tool which is used increasingly to encroach into our sphere of privacy. So the question is, how far will it be regulated to pull it back or to protect citizens from invasion of our private space? My presentation, and I finished it well in time. I think what we have to look forward to in the years ahead is AI will be a wonderful assistant to all of us as lawyers, but we will see AI increasingly invading all of our other spaces. Whether it's for the better or for the worse will depend upon how it's regulated and how things solve. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senior. Is there any question? Now it's a question and answer session. Anybody wants to ask any questions about the artificial intelligence, please.
To start with, I'll ask my question. First of all, my heartfelt thanks for explaining AI with under this context. I'm very proud and happy to receive your lecture today. So my question is, if suppose all the drafting forms which we use in our pleadings, if all these statistics and data are uploaded to the AI, definitely the drafting time that an advocate takes for drafting a plaint, for example, will certainly be reduced to just only cross check whatever the omissions and additions to be made. So, will it not be a better way to use AI to start drafting pleadings, or do you find this will endanger us in the future?
Great question. I've actually seen one AI which does some level of drafting. At present, it's not that good. It's fantastic for evidence and document analysis, oral evidence and documentary evidence. The way AI analyzes is amazing. You have to see it to believe it. You can just say, what are the documents which show that this person knew about this event, and it will tell you. So, evidence analysis, there's nothing to beat AI today. Drafting, as of now, it's not that great, but no harm in trying. My only word of caution would be that if something goes wrong, the liability is on us. So it's drafting. I would suggest that we continue doing it to the extent possible, with at least the crucial paras by ourselves.
Correct. Why not the judgment? Because the conclusion of the analysis would be the judgment.
There is there is actually there's actually a move to have certain kinds of dispute resolution done by AI. They're trying it in Europe now. People are receptive to it, but they're trying to have things like domain name disputes, arbitrations with respect to rights to web domain names. Those they're trying to resolve it by AI adjudication. So you push in your pleadings, they push in the pleadings, and the result will come as a printout. Will you be satisfied with it? That's my question to you.
Even in Madras, I was told that near Sendamul Punga, there is some
That is
legal
giving
opinion
okay.
center.
That's-
இல்ல. Some Agarwal, they give opinion, thousands of opinion in a day. Do not know the company's name.
Lawyer.
That they have that generative AI and screen all the documents for home loan purposes. It could, ஆமா.
பக்கத்து காம்பவுண்ட்ல போய் சொல்லிடு மூடிடலாம் அவ்வளவுதானே.
There is, in fact, போயிட்டு இருக்கு இப்படி. Instead of giving it to lawyers, lawyers only recheck those opinions.
God.
Agarwal or something.
அதாவது ஒரு கேஸ் தப்பா போகும், சிபிஐக்கு வரும்,
இப்ப
அப்புறம்
நிறைய
அகர்வால்
cases
ஸ்டாண்டிங் இன் ஹிஸ் ஆஃபீஸ்.
இன்னைக்கு we have so many disputes even screened by humans.
That's true.
Because, yeah, playing chess. Yes.
Hmm.
We could not tackle AI being the opposite side.
Correct.
See, it works. Chess is a game where it calculates most of the moves. It thinks ahead at least 10
Yes.
steps ahead.
Yeah.
So
Humans can do
when the
7,
machine
it does
can
12. Correct.
no, when machine can think, able to think some 10 to 15 steps ahead, then it's definitely a stage where we have to appreciate or accept it.
So the question is,
Now Anand has now become, I mean, he instead of playing with men, in players, actual players, now our focus is to play with machines.
Correct.
That is the stage
as you
where
rightly said,
we are
computers
moving
think
forward.
12 moves ahead. Humans,
Ah.
the best human is 7. But I think handling the intangibles of human emotion, I think still can't do.
Yes. Emotions they can't do. Such, I mean, sensory feeling. We do not know.
Mensria.
We must have to wait for Shankar to come out with some other movie. Indiran 3 or 4.
I have a question.
Yeah.
See, we've been talking about artificial intelligence with a human touch. At some point in time, the human has a role to play. How about an autonomous AI database that's available in the cloud? Is there a possibility, is there a danger where an autonomous AI can be used to manipulate judgments?
Okay, they did have an experiment in Stanford where they made 2 AIs chat with each other. This one last question that will reply to it, but very soon it became rubbish. So for some reason, when they go completely autonomous, a surprisingly high percentage of rubbish comes out. Surprisingly high percentage. You would have all read that case about that one lawyer who got fake citations. So that's one problem which they're still working on. Very quickly it starts giving rubbish.
So we do have a danger. Once
If
the
you
level
allow-
of autonomous
Yes.
nature
Yes.
comes into the
Yes, PMS. அவனுக்கு மைக்கெல்லாம் வேண்டாம்.
Adding a couple of sentences to the question that he raised. Can AI be of help in making of your pleadings and drafts? Was the question that he posed. Second stage, appreciation of evidence, analysis, that can be of use, maybe of substantial use. But so far as pleadings are concerned, the original creation is a plaint. Every plaint is unique by itself. The inputs are unique. The facts and circumstances in which a plaint is made and a suit is made are different. I quite understand when at the stage number 2, appreciation of evidence and that coming to inferences, all those things can be of use. When we make an original plaint, original thinking involved, and the facts and circumstances, I'm sorry to repeat, is unique by itself, can the AI be of any use at all? Because each case,
No, you're right. I'm just saying, let us never. There seems to be no limit to how far this can go. I'm seeing it and I'm not seeing any limits. Because it is like an organic structure which is able to grow by itself. So as of now, I will say that it's a very low quality you're getting. But who knows? Who knows?
dynamics and graphics of drawing a plaint is very, very different from evidence or the second stage or the third
No,
stage.
you're right. But as Mukund said, it's beating chess players now. No,
But there are the permutation combinations. Here, tremendous original thinking which a human brain alone can do it.
look, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying So don't think they can't get here. I'm saying that argument in court, I don't believe it can ever take over. And adjudication by the judge. These two functions, I don't think can ever be taken over. Drafting, as Karthikeyan gone. Like Karthikeyan said, right now it's of low quality, but who knows?
Well, I quite understand if it's a lease deed, a mortgage deed, or
Correct.
something like that.
So those
But
is able to
plain,
do super.
plain. This is a plain. This is the original creation. Very original creation. Tremendous human thoughts and analysis is required. No two planes are same. No two suits are same. No two cause of actions. And the AI is so powerful in terms of its brain capacity. Whatever is the equivalent.
I will tell you later. I'll give an example.
Thank you, Srinath. Thank you.
Right.
So, smart codes per se, the issue of discretion in a human brain while pronouncing judgments, can it not be avoided in smart codes? Chinese already been implementing smart codes. Issue of discretion in a human brain while pronouncing judgments can be resolved to a certain extent while using the technology in smart codes.
Tell you what, you're saying from your question, I can see that you're saying that discretion is a bad thing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes discretion is a good thing. Right? Sometimes. So, do you want to write that out completely? See, but even their laws are different. For them, the Chinese code, it's not. No one is going to permit reopen, recall, and all that there. You will be executed. Laws are different. இருக்கு கம்யூனிஸ்ட் பார்ட்டி law. Of their law. Yes. I think we should welcome it. Like I said, we are in no risk at all. I believe that litigators have no risk. I see AI as making us far more efficient, and it will give you the kind of cases which earlier you had to do in 3 hours search is going to give you in 3-4 minutes. Case search, it's far better because earlier you have to get the correct keywords, right? SEC will give you 12,000 hits and you have to go search them. This will give you 10 hits and each one will be perfect. So it's that precise. So I think for us, it's going to be fantastic. That's my view. If you use it for evidence analysis, if you use it for document collation, if you case law research, it's all fantastic. Yeah, I agree with PMS. Right now, I don't think we should use it. As of now, the US and UK courts have held that nobody. A creation by AI cannot have an owner because there is no human being involved in the creation. We had a very interesting case about 2 years ago where one chimpanzee by mistake took a selfie. Even there they said, no, there's no right. No one has a right in that. That's a great question. Let's think through our lives. No, I mean the youngsters now here may not know, but we'll all know. In the 80s, in banks, there was someone called teller who'll count cash. Never guy. They're all gone, replaced by computers. Then we had typists, all gone. Now, does it mean what happens is, for example, you go back to 60s. You had a metal worker in a factory replaced by machine press. So 1,000 metal workers replaced by one machine operator. But what happens is all these metal workers now have a lot of free time. So then you have tour operators. Nowadays, children, there's something, in this generation, there is something called as wellness coach, life coach. So if you we have more and more free time, you'll have jobs to fill up all this free time. So I don't think, yes, it will wipe up lots of jobs, but fresh jobs will keep getting created on top because humans are like that. So, as of now, we have certain regulations for protection of personal data in India. In Europe, it's called as GDPR regulations. So there are regulations everywhere in the world which are trying to protect our privacy, even when technology has more and more access to our personal data. But regulations are there. If you're okay with rubbish answers, definitely. Who's asked? Yaar ketanga? Yes, correct. Eh, I've told him any criminal questions. Bail condition for the GPS. GPS. Amma. Correct. Yes. AI knows where you are at any point of time, which is why um, there's something called Internet Foundation Freedom of India, something like that. Uh, they filed a PIL in Supreme Court to saying based on Puttaswamy, this kind of invasion of our privacy should be prevented. But as far as the setting aside of bail condition on that geolocation, um, I'm going to ask learned senior counsel John Satyan to kindly answer the question. Bail set aside, as a bail condition of geolocation was set aside. No, is there a risk of using AI and imposing the same condition? All those things. Geolocation.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if I can track your movements without your geolocation using facial recognition technologies, are we not in a danger of bringing through the back door what Supreme Court has blocked a couple of days ago?
Always there. Certain things you cannot avoid. We submit ourselves to the. Obviously, we have to run through the. Have to pay.
In India, can you say that the person should remain in his house, like house arrest as a bail condition? Is that permissible?
Not provided
Okay.
by law. Definitely not.
Correct. Exactly. Exactly. They are going towards an Orwellian world. Correct. Correct.
Thank you, Senior. Alan Turing and John McCarthy. These two Europeans were the inventors of artificial intelligence. Even those two Europeans would not said much about artificial intelligence than our senior. One thing. The second thing I would like to say is, when I started my career as an advocate in the year 1990, his father was the government pleader. One matter before the chief, then the chief was Subhash Reddy, or Anand, I believe. He was sitting there, his father was sitting there, and one question was pertaining to criminal law. His father said, "My lords, as a government pleader, I am a general physician. I am not a specialist. I'll better request his PP to appear before your lordship. That was the answer given by his father. But today, his son has demonstrated that he is a master of all arts. Thank you, Mr. Senior. On behalf of the Madras Bar Association, a small memento. Thank you. Thank you so much.